All right, hello, my amazing artist. Today we are talking about Zentangle artwork. Now, before we get started, I do want to remind you about our learning requirements, kind of our big picture for art for the year. And Zentangle art is going to fall under how we make art because we're going to be talking about the elements, and we're going to be using some new artist tools and different kind of ink pen and marker. We're going to be talking about why we make art, which today is going to be promoting relaxation. And we're going to be talking about who makes art. We're going to learn about the heritage of Zentangle artwork and how it connects to different cultures around the world. Our plan for today, here are our learning goals. That by the end of class, you will have applied the elements of art into a Zentangle design, and you will have learned about the experience, the relaxation benefits of, you will have learned about and experienced the relaxation benefits of Zentangle art. Now our do, remember, do is how we're going to make these goals happen, how we will reach our learning goals. We're going to participate in a look and wonder activity. We're going to work together to identify the elements as a review in Zentangle art. I will introduce Zentangle art to you and give you the background history of it. I will model a Zentangle practice to you. Then we will practice together through a guided practice. And then you, at the end of that time, will have time to practice independently to apply your skills. All right, let's get started. Have you ever seen art like this? Imagine you were the artist. How would you make this artwork? What emotion might you feel if you made art like this? If you got all finished and you were all done with this big piece, how would you feel? What emotion? Now look closer. What do you see in this tiny section of this Zentangle artwork? Which elements of art are here? The elements of art are line, shape, color, texture, form, value, and space. Which ones do you see in this artwork? Now look closer. The elements that are here are lines, shapes, textures, because we have lines that mimic a texture, maybe something being bumpy or scratchy. There's also space. Space is a new element for us, and space is all about how an area is used, whether the space around a shape, the space within a shape, or creating contrast between the outside and inside spaces of an object. Now, what is contrast? Contrast is actually a principle of design, and we're going to see that within our Zentangle art as well. Contrast is all about creating something that is different from another. Here are some examples that you'll see within Zentangles. You may see contrast because there's a difference in the background color. You may see difference in the same size and different sizes of a pattern. For example, the circles are all different sizes, but the squares are all the same size. That is a contrast in sizing. There could also be contrast in the width or boldness of lines between thick and thin. All of these are examples of contrast. Now, Zentangle is a new art that connects to ancient global arts. We have examples from going from top left to bottom right: Mayan, Maori, Celtic, and American Indian. All of these are the icons of the sun from each of these cultures. But I pulled these because I wanted you to see on the far left a sunshine made in the Zentangle art form and how similar all of these are. We see that many of these have a circular base design and how the patterns repeat and have rhythm or visual contrast in their works. So we're looking at cultures from all around the world, ancient cultures that have been creating artwork like this, and now it's just becoming more contemporary. Creating artwork like this is also very ritualistic, meaning that it's a core practice in an art form where somebody is repeating something over and over in a very focused way. Now, like doodling, it is based on a human behavior, in which one refrains from planning, meaning you're not planning it out, you're not sketching it, you're not making all kinds of different additions of ideas. Instead, you're just going with it and you're allowing the lines and shapes to unintentionally emerge. Now, here's a little GIF because I want you to realize that this takes time. No matter how big or how small you're making your Zentangle design, this takes time, so go slow. And that's a good thing because humans need more time for themselves to relax and give their brains a break. All right, hello my amazing artist. Today I'm going to show you how to get started with your Zentangle practice circles. The first thing I'm going to do is model for you how to get started. And then our next video will be a time where you and I can work together on this. So the first thing that you'll notice is I have opened up our shared document on my iPad, just like you'll have access on your iPads to different Zentangle pattern ideas. Now, the reason I have this pulled up is because as an artist, we not only generate our own ideas, but we can gain inspiration from other artists, from other patterns, from other resources. So that's why I have that open for us. It doesn't mean that you're not being creative. It means that we're looking at different ways that another person or many different artists might think to help inspire the way that we might think and create. So here's the process that we're going to go through. You'll see the supplies I have on my table. I'm going to trace this cup, the largest part of it, try to center it in my box just so it's a neat symmetrical design. Then I am going to use a second piece of paper, and you can use a ruler, you can use the paper, whatever you have, with a straight edge. And I'm going to start dividing my circle into divisions, into sections. Now, some of these lines I can make straight. Some of these lines can be short. I'm going to make these lines to where they're fairly interesting, or at least interesting to me. I'm also going to be using my cup as a ruler of sorts because it can make curved lines. I can also use the bottom side of it to make another design, but I want to make sure that everything that I'm doing is kept within my circle. Let that be your boundary. I'm not making many sections, just enough to give variety, to give options, but not anything so small that I would be here all day creating. So I've got my sections. I'm going to set that cup aside. And then I have my artist tools today. So this is a gel pen, clicky gel pen. So the ink's going to come out really smooth. And this is more of a permanent marker, but it's a fine tip. So it's going to make a thicker line. Both are really great to draw with for Zentangles because the ink comes out smooth. It's not scratchy. And so what I can do is I can trace. Now, because this video is meant to be short, I am modeling for you one part, one patterned section. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but you'll notice that I'm taking my marker and tracing these lines. Now, Zentangle is meant to be continuous. It's meant for us to, I'm going to zoom in, it's meant for us to be thinking about relaxing rather than worrying about making a plan. So many times we can stress ourselves out in life because of planning and thinking, what if, what will happen now, what will happen next? So our goal is to keep this continuous. So I'm going to use my gel pen and I'm going to choose a pattern, I think, and it's okay if you come up with one that's not here, but I think I'm going to go with these fish scales. And my goal is not to just draw them and then plan and make it perfect and erase, but instead I'm going to feel confident enough that using my ink pen, I'm just going to get in a rhythm where I'm repeating this shape over and over. This act of repeating something over and over, especially in a small way, because it causes you to slow down and not to rush, is that part of ritual style art making that is going to help promote relaxation in your brain. I'm going to create another pattern and demonstrate contrast. Contrast is when we focus on how things are different. So I'm going to start making these circles. Again, you'll see that I'm working quickly, but not sloppy, not wastefully, right? So I think I decided that I'm going to use black dots surrounding these white dots to create contrast. because the difference between the white and the black. I also see contrast because the sizes of these circles are different. You could even come in and make the outline of these a little thicker. So these are decisions that are made on the spot. I'm not doing a lot of long planning. If I feel like changing it, I can do that. So this is how we're going to be starting our practice. Now, let's get ready to practice together. Okay, hey artist. So by now you should have your supplies. If you're in the classroom with me, if you're at home, have the supplies that would be similar to these. Ink pen, pencil. If you don't have an ink pen, you can use a colored pencil. You can use a regular pencil. It's really whatever you have. And something circular. If you don't have a circle, choose another shape like a square or a triangle to trace. I just find that tracing this shape helps me because sometimes I don't always draw the most perfect shapes, and I like having that stencil option. Okay, everybody, go ahead and trace the cup. Okay, next, we're gonna take our paper and we're gonna create those divided sections. I challenge you to create at least 5 different lines. They can be 5 straight lines, 5 curved lines. Here's 1. You put them wherever you like. 2, 3. It's fun how it is different every time I make this. 4. And 5. This one's actually gonna end up being like a circle within a circle for me. So I'll give you a minute to finish up those 5 lines. Don't want to do too much more than probably 8. Okay, next step, now that we have our lines traced, is to outline your work. I'll give you some time just to take your pen, and again, that's another reason we're not doing many lines, but we do have at least 5 division lines, straight or curved, because otherwise this is a project that would take us much longer. And we want to make this our first practice project to get introduced to Zentangles. So while I am tracing, I want you to do the same. When you get that finished, just cap your marker if you want to use your gel pen next, or you can continue using your marker for the next activity. Final step that we're going to do is to create a pattern together. But this guided practice is a way for us to try this new skill together. Okay, so what I'm doing, I still have these ideas beside me, but I think we will all, I'm going to choose one pattern for us all to begin with, and I think we're just going to do some thick and thin lines because they have contrast right here. So I'm going to choose to use my gel pen. You can choose your marker or your gel pen, and I'm going to choose one section. You can even choose a small section. And I'm just going to draw straight lines. These straight lines can be spaced out wide. They can be really close together. You can go back and start making some of them thick by using your gel pen or your marker to begin coloring in that space to add contrast. Go ahead and do this. Notice how these lines stretch the entire length or width of this section. I didn't stop short. These lines fill the section. That's what we want to practice with each of our lines. Now, as I'm working, I realize, you know what? I want to jazz this up a little bit. Remember, Zentangle is all about acting upon your ideas in that moment. It's not making a plan, it's just going with it. All right, artist, the time has come. You are going to go ahead and start working independently. That means your art is going to become as unique as you are. And I hope that it's a time that is relaxing for you, to where you have fun experimenting with new patterns. If you see a pattern and you feel like, oh my goodness, I am not sure how to make that, I'm not that great of an artist, I want you to throw that thought out the window, because patterns are all about lines and shapes. So I want you to get started. You may choose, remember, have your resource to choose different patterns. This is an example that I worked on over 5 days, a little bit here and there for fun. Notice how it's detailed. It wasn't rushed, that these patterns do fill the spaces. So I want you to aim for that. We want to make sure our craftsmanship is high, because we are 4th, 5th grade artists. that can take our time and do our best work.